Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to ProductCon 2025. I'm Divya Sabade, your moderator for the session today. In today's fast evolving landscape, AI is no longer just an assistive tool. It is enabling generative autonomy, reshaping the orchestration, and powering scalable and modular workflows that's transforming organizations. We are thrilled to bring you an insightful panel on architecting the AI native organization. Joining us today are two visionary leaders at the forefront of this transformation, Marcus East and Ed Makoski. We'll explore how they are architecting their AI native organization and what lessons their team have learned along the way. Before we dive in, let's get to know our panelists a little bit better. Marcus and Ed, please briefly introduce yourself, sharing who you are, the products you're currently leading, and one superpower that you bring to your AI work. Marcus, let's get started with you.
Thank you, and thanks very much for inviting me to participate in this excellent discussion. So I'm Marcus East. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Digital and E-commerce for Autodesk. And so I guess the product that I'm responsible for would be Autodesk's global digital experiences and the Autodesk store, which obviously is used by many of our customers to not only research our products, but also to buy them. And then my one superpower, I guess, would be really the ability to combine the technical and the business aspects of product development, which I think sometimes teams struggle with. And so hopefully that's the theme that will come up during this conversation.
Definitely, Marcus. I think that's a good one. Ed, over to you.
Hey, Divya. Thank you. Ed Makoski here. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Boomi. I'm responsible for all of Boomi's products here, which we are a cloud-native integration automation platform that enables enterprises to connect applications, manage APIs, but now build agentic workflows across these applications, APIs, et cetera, within their environments. In terms of my superpower, I like to think that I am able to see around corners on behalf of our customer. I take pride in that. I'm constantly looking at what's the next thing in terms of integration, automation, and now agentic workflows and what we can offer to our customers to solve their critical business needs.
Wow, that's a good one too, Ed. Thank you for the insightful introductions. Now that we have met our panelists, we have a glimpse into their work and expertise. Let's dive deeper into the heart of our conversation, which is architecting the AI native organization. Quick disclaimer, each panelist is sharing their own perspective. Okay, so as we are aware that assistive AI tools augment human tasks, but keep humans in loop still. On the other hand, the autonomous AI agents, they take a step further by making independent decisions and taking actions with minimal or almost no human insight. Uh, so let's get delve deeper into our questions. And my first question is, how are your teams using AI to go beyond assistive tooling towards generative autonomy? Ed, we can get started with you.
Sure, it's a great question. For us, like most organizations, we've started with Copilot and dev assisting tooling within our development organization, but quickly found that um, sure, when you optimize code generation and building of code, you have to quickly look at the entire pipeline around developers in terms of how you truly accelerate product delivery, not just generating code within a product organization. So for us, we widen the lens out. We've looked at the different stages of product delivery, from documentation to product management tasks around research and so on and so forth, and focused on how we can introduce agentic AI agents to help facilitate at each stage of the pipeline so that we can deliver products faster.
Wow, that's good. I like the whole holistic view that you have, Ed. Marcus, feel free to jump in and add more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's an incredibly exciting time to be in this space as we think about generative AI at Autodesk. We're obviously looking to move from beyond where we were having our technologies and our products assisting our users to actually providing even more value. So if we look at how designers are using some of our products, for example, they're able to actually specify the vision that they're trying to achieve, the goals, the constraints of the materials that they're using, or the manufacturing process that they're using, and actually allow our technologies and our solutions to help them to actually, in a semi-autonomous way, come up with early stage designs and principles that really help to accelerate their work. And so for me, what's really exciting now is moving away from, hey, AI is helping me to do repetitive tasks, to a space where AI is actually starting to help with some of the generation and even the ideation and creation for our customers. So a super exciting time.
Totally. I'm super excited. It's more like AI has become like a collaborative partner, and I think it's just so helpful. So now moving a bit, it seems like orchestration is the glue in the AI product stack, right? So where does orchestration show up in your product stack today, and how are you utilizing it? Marcus, we can get started with you.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that because we have a vast product set, one of the things that's really important for us is making sure that there is some consistency and integration across all of those products. And so I know for many chief product officers and product executives, that's one of the challenges that they have. And so we certainly today are using tools like Metaflow to kind of orchestrate the end-to-end workflows. And so that's everything from our data ingestion to running experiments to making sure that we schedule our compute in the most efficient way. And why that's important is that it really allows us to provide a single cohesive platform so that all of our products have the opportunity to learn from the models that we're developing, but also it's just an efficient way of doing things. And I know that many teams that I've talked to struggle with the cost and the time that it takes to do things. And so using orchestration as a way of really driving efficiency and reliability is key for us.
That's a great point. I totally agree. Like, having that data crisp and clear and then, everything end to end, like having that flow smooth, I think makes a lot of sense, even to do the new initiatives that we have on mind. Awesome. Thank you, Marcus, for that. Ed, do you want to add to Marcus' point about orchestration?
Yeah. In fact, Boomi's platform itself, we leverage our own at me as a customer of our own platform. Our platform is an orchestration platform and a connectivity and automation platform itself. And when I look at our product stack within our organization, we actually partner with a number of our own vendors in terms of adding embedded connectivity solutions and then orchestration across products. So we do this for ourselves and for our customers. But when I think about ourselves, we are now evolving past just the specific deterministic workflows and orchestrations that we've built to more autonomous or AI agent driven workflows or non-deterministic workflows in our organization to make us more nimble and faster in our delivery of our own products. Again, we now build on top of the embedded connectivity solutions we already provide to then leverage those as tools for our AI agents that we build to orchestrate these flows. And we're seeing a lot of productivity gains and outputs from our own development team through these orchestrations.
Great, that's awesome. So I love that you brought AI agents because that's the our new hot topic, right? So fundamentally reimagining orchestration by moving, beyond the single monolithic system to network of specialized and collaborative digital teammates that excel at specific tasks. Like that's what I think about AI agents. But Ed, let's talk about agents and how are you using AI agents to rethink orchestration in your teams and products? We would love to hear more about that and delve a little bit deeper.
Yeah, to take it a step deeper, where we focus now is primarily not on necessarily replacing, because I mentioned deterministic workflows, not focusing too much on replacing all of those, because many of those are very optimized. If they're complicated, we may think about agentifying those. But what's important is I mentioned extending or building on top of the frameworks we've already had that are deterministic. We're identifying new, work that humans are doing that are mundane tasks to replace those with agentic workflows. Thus, looking for the next adjacent things to deterministic workflows that we were never able to automate before because it would have resulted in, a million if then else statements that you would have to code, or it would become very brittle. Introducing AI agents into our workflow has actually been able to help us automate way more than we have been able to in the past.
Great. That's awesome. Marcus, I'm sure Autodesk has tackles a similar use case. Anything that you would like to add to this one?
Yeah, this is an incredibly important area. One of the areas where we see agentic solutions playing a critical role is help to generate structured data sets from various sources that organizations may have. As it relates to Autodesk, obviously, we have many customers and clients that have within our AMP data lakes quite a lot of data from different products, different projects that they've worked on. And what's beautiful about using AI agents is the ability to actually learn from and generate some structured data sets from some of those existing data lakes, and then actually provide new insights, new value that weren't necessarily visible before. And if I can just give a specific example, we're not just talking about our own technologies and our own agents as well, by the way. I mean, one of the things that's super interesting is that at Autodesk University, we recently featured a use case where we were explaining how data grid AI could actually use agentic workflows to automate tasks over Autodesk construction cloud data. And here you're combining knowledge with some of the data that's available within the client's unique data sets, together with publicly available data, and looking at things like deviations from industry norms and benchmarks, driving project insights. And this is driving a lot of productivity enhancement for our customers. Some of our customers report that they're saving hundreds of hours on projects by using these AI agents in order to actually drive new insights and to drive new performance that wasn't there before. That said, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that there are some challenges too, and I'm sure we'll come on to talk about some of the potential risks and challenges.
That's a great example, Marcus. I'm sure, I'm sure that productivity is a win, and then there are challenges. We'll talk about it in just a bit. But let's shift gear towards governance. So, Marcus, what's your framework for building scalable modular AI workflows, especially with governments as top of mind?
Yeah, so as a company that has products that are critical to many of our customers and critical to many industries, governance is really important to us. And one of the things that's our North Star really is really around ethical standards, even beyond the legal requirements and the frameworks that are out there. And so for us, thinking about how we can have truly responsible AI, where any activities that are taking place within our platform are explainable and where we're able to track exactly what's happening there. At an organizational level, it's really important to us that we have centralized governance across the company. And so increasingly, we try to have a modular architecture whereby different teams are able to leverage parts of our AI ecosystem that are relevant to them. But we want everything to be done within a strict governance framework. And so that means that there are some things that we simply won't deviate from. And that's really where this focus on the high ethical standards come in.
That's a great point, Marcus. And then Ed, did you hit something similar challenge at Boomi? Like, how do you manage governance there?
Yeah, I totally agree with Marcus. And by the way, to double click on that a little bit, and I would encourage folks watching or listening to this, I think we've nailed it in history in terms of tracking, humans and what they're doing, and audit trails and governance, et cetera, in terms of security within an organization today. With the introduction of AI agents and agentic frameworks and whatnot within an organization, um, because this has moved so fast, I don't know that folks have thought enough about governance and tracking and auditability and all of these types of things that you would do with humans as well. So that is what we have thought. Okay, how do we track and govern AI agents just like we would people within an organization? Um, so if you're a CIO or a leader out there, or a product leader, and if you can't answer what are all the AI agents within your organization and what are they doing, like you can humans in your company, then you've got a problem. So that's the kind of foundation of the way we think about it. And we've introduced ways of tracking all of the AI agents that are working and doing work, and what are they doing, and how do we govern them? And if they go rogue or off the rails, how would we manage those agents? And we put a framework in place to track those with some of our own technology.
That's great. So I think the key takeaway for us and the audience is build responsibly and then balance innovation with control. I loved what you said because I think it's so important to have that governance, compliance, and observability really, thought upfront while we are building this AI products. Awesome. Ed, what's one meaningful org design change you have made specifically to support AI native work?
I'm going to call out two, but they're both the same theme because we made two organizational changes, and it was to centralize AI, development standards, governance, et cetera. But we did it on two fronts. On one front, I centralized the team within product and engineering originally as the team that will keep out in the forefront and learning and understanding and building and setting the standards for how we develop AI-based products within the organization, that they've become a center of excellence for us to then propagate and train and push that through the entire organization, so, from a product and engineering perspective, so that we develop AI first. So that's centralizing and then using a COE model. We've done the same thing as a holistic company as well. So if you think about that from an IT perspective and how we run our business as Boomi, not just our products, but our business, we've also centralized and put a team in place within the IT organization that is solely focused on making our company more efficient and then training the trainer across the entire organization. So it is one thing, it's centralized, but we thought about it very two different ways. How do we do it within product and engineering and product and technology, and then how do we do it within our IT organization? And that's done very well for us on both fronts.
Yeah, the AI COE, I think it's a great way to look about this. Marcus, would you like to add something?
Yeah, totally agree with Ed. Organizations do have to adapt to be able to leverage the power of this new wave of AI. One of the things that we've done is create a generative AI accelerator, which, to sort of build on Ed's point, is we're centralizing resources and expertise from different departments across the organization. So from research team, from our product teams, from our internal engineering teams, and making sure that they're able to work super closely together within cross-functional AI product pods. And that allows us to integrate the engineering with the data science and the sort of business domain expertise from day one. We're finding that that's accelerating the work that we're doing. And so I know a natural instinct for many product teams is to be super focused on their outcomes and their potential product features and the backlogs that are developing. But fundamentally, this centralization gives you an opportunity to accelerate at an organizational level. And so, I talk to other leaders around many, many different industries, and they struggle with this because, yes, you can go fast if you have your kind of siloed one team focus. But I'm going to use an old adage, if you want to go quickly, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And I think that applies really, really well to this new AI wave that we're riding.
Totally.
And
I
Divya
can't
and
agree more.
and
Yeah,
Divya,
please do.
if I can add on to
Yeah.
sorry for jumping in, because one thing came to mind. Many folks that could be listening, making the statements around, okay, adding a COE or having folks focus on these pieces. One thing that we did that was very important to force our organization to get more efficient is we repurposed individuals that looking for career advancement or changes into these roles from a COE perspective. And Marcus, it got me thinking about your comment because the folks we put in the COE, we kind of bridged it a little differently in terms of they have come from some cross-functional teams. So we repurposed them. They're in a COE, but they have the connections within the organization and relationships built. So it wasn't an additive cost because I know a lot of technology companies and others are thinking about that today. How do we become more efficient versus adding cost? We shifted roles, have them focus in a center of excellence. They have the relationships and they're propagating those out as well. So if anyone was wondering, hey, I can't afford to add a COE or that sort of thing from a budgeting standpoint, think about how you can move people into these roles and force the backfill of their jobs by automating those things with AI agents or other ways of doing that to become more efficient as an organization.
I'm glad, Ed, that you brought that point because, in times like this, I think just repurposing the workflows, I think that's a great idea. So, key takeaway here is that AI native work is not an isolated effort, but it's a company wide capability. And also, the underlying thread is that designing team for autonomy, accountability, and cross disciplinary collaboration, it's so critical. So we are almost coming to our end, and I don't want to leave without thinking about what could be the biggest mistakes that we could do while we are scaling this agentic workflow. So my question is, as you have scaled these workflows, what's the biggest mistake or the common mistake you see teams make, and how can others avoid it? I think that's the critical part. Marcus, would you like to kick it off?
Absolutely. This is, in some respects, the kind of $64 billion question, in that whilst agentic AI opens up huge opportunities, the mistake that I've seen organizations make is effectively trying to mask underlying challenges with their data pipelines, with their build pipelines, with their IT architecture by putting agents on top. And I think that gets you so far. And yes, you can probably mask some of those challenges. But I'd love to get Ed's thought on this as well. In my experience, the best AI implementations are able to take advantage of underlying data structures that make sense, underlying IT systems that make sense, discipline around CI/CD, and the ability to ensure that there is good governance overall. And so, I'm sure that some of the people watching this are saying, wow, it sounds like Marcus and Ed work in amazing environments where everything is pretty well architected. And to some extent, that's probably true. But I think that people have to be very intentional about their use of AI. And if I can just give you a specific example, I used to be the chief product officer and the chief technology officer for National Geographic. And we were very early adopters of AI, and we were using AI, working super closely with AWS to implement some personalized experiences for hundreds of millions of consumers. And as you probably know, National Geographic serves in excess of 300 million consumers every day. One of the challenges that I faced was that there was a desire to take many of the legacy data sets that we had in the National Geographic archive and to make those available to people using personalized bots that would effectively create for Divya or for Ed a very customized view of the National Geographic archive. Here's the challenge. Historically, if we look in those data sets, we saw that there was terminology that was used that may not be appropriate today. We would see that there was shifting moral values that may have manifested in the archive, which, just to be clear, is 135 years old. And one of the dangers of using AI, whether it's agentic AI or whether it was machine learning, over data sets like that, is that it may expose some of the historical content and language that may not be appropriate for your current audience. And so this goes back to something that Ed and I have touched upon, the importance of governance. I think it's critical to think deeply about what sits in our databases, what sits in our systems, what are those data that will be available to an agentic agent in a way that wasn't necessarily visible historically. And if you do not do that, if you don't go back and look very carefully at the ecosystem in which you operate, I think we're going to see organizations that damage their brand through the use of agentic solutions that maybe um, surface things that may not be appropriate for their customers and for the marketplace. And so I'll stop there because this is a topic I'm passionate about, but I see that as a big issue for many organizations.
True. I think, yeah, it's a great point that you bring, Marcus. Before I say anything, Ed, what's your take on this one? It's an important question.
Yeah, I agree. It's an important question. I think the popular answer that you'll hear from most folks in issues when scaling is around security and compliance and that sort of thing, particularly with MCP, and the way that technology. It's a great technology, provides great solutions, but it can also be very dangerous from a security standpoint. That's one. However, I'm going to agree with Marcus in terms of data readiness, data quality, that sort of thing, and building on top of existing integration frameworks and pipelines, et cetera. We, as a technology company, provide those pipelines and integration, that sort of thing. But we've often seen that folks in the industry, when building their integrations within their organization, have built with any technology, not necessarily ours, but that built very brittle or very quick pipelines to move data around and integrate data and not thought very thoroughly. And in fact, if you look at the arc of, I'll call it just data management and master data management and that sort of thing over the last 15 years, it's a little bit fallen by the wayside. Things get synchronized, data gets moved around. Humans have access to data in their systems, but humans, when you go and look and there's duplicate records or so on and so forth, or bad data, they get used to that and understand that. It just become a cultural thing within organizations. Oh, bad data. I've got two contact records of this. This phone number's bad here, but this phone number's right. I'm going to use this one. AI, while it can digest these things, um, can't make the human determination of what's the right thing. It's getting better. It's, maybe on laws of averages, that sort of thing. But, Marcus, you touched on one angle about, inappropriate things for today's society. But I just think of the basics of, like, bad data in generally will be worse data coming out of AI. So as you scale your AI-based solutions, whatever that really bad outcome would be, you really, really, really have to focus on data management solutions, proper integrations, proper frameworks, get back to the fundamentals on your data sources and your data quality within your organization before you scale up AI. And making sure right systems are connected, right systems are defined as systems of record. Make sure that, just at the end of the day, it's high quality data that you're feeding into these AI systems. Otherwise, it'll be very bad data coming out.
Yeah, it reminds me garbage in, garbage out. And
Yeah.
while we keep up with, the latest tech, we shouldn't forget the strong foundation. So data is the foundation for whether it's ML, AI, or, agentic. So great points. I do a kind of plus one on that human checkpoint at decision nodes. I think that's so important. While we are progressing, we should not forget that it's human that build the AI. So we should always have them in the loop. Awesome. Such a wonderful discussion. So, I would like to thank you both, Marcus and Ed, for sharing all your experience and insights today. But before I let you go to close out, I want to leave our audience with one key takeaway or a final thought as they build and redefine their AI native organizations. So, let's hear from you, Marcus.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to be very clear about what the organization is trying to achieve, to acknowledge some of the issues that Ed and I have talked about in terms of data quality and governance, but fundamentally not to lose sight of the fact that this is an incredibly fast moving space. And I don't think that most organizations will be able to unlock the potential just by themselves. I think this is a situation where it makes sense to partner with organizations that have deep, specialized technical expertise that can help you. And a bit like digital transformation, I saw many organizations that said, hey, we're going to set up our own team and we'll build a digital function and we'll go off and we'll explore this. In many cases, it would have been faster to partner with AWS or Google or Microsoft to move things forward. And I think that in this AI generation that we're in, particularly with the potential for agentic solutions, there are a lot of specialized organizations out there that can really help you to accelerate your work in this space. And so thinking beyond the boundaries of your organization and thinking about the wider ecosystem and seeking out specialist help is the thing that I think is really important.
Very true. Ed, let's wrap up with you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's very simple. There's a lot of tools, technology, buzz in the industry around AI, tooling, integrations, orchestration, et cetera. At the end of the day, focus on your business outcomes and what you want to achieve versus the tools and technology, and you can't go wrong. I see too many people focus on what's the next tool, what's the next tech. They keep chasing those things and doing what I like, just science projects versus actually making an impact in the business. So getting back to the classic, like, what are the use cases, what can I implement to make my business better, and then go after those and achieve those outcomes versus science projects with technology.
Wow, that was a good one. Awesome. Thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, the era of AI native organization is here. So let's build it well. Thank you.